it's never about stopping to care, but to stop carrying what isn't yours to carry. What actually happens when you stop overfunctioning is that your care becomes cleaner, more honest, and more effective. A caretaker manages the experience. A container holds the space. When you stop overfunctioning, you're not just changing what you do, you are changing who you believe yourself to be. Welcome back. This is part 3 of the cost of carrying everyone. And if you've made it to this episode, I want to acknowledge something. You showed up for the whole series. And that tells me something about you. It tells me you're not here for surface level content. You actually want the real work. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. In part 1, we named the pattern, what overfunctioning actually looks like in a high-ticket business, and why it wears such convincing disguises. In part 2, we went to the root. Where is this wearing coming from? What is it protecting? And what is it costing you? Today is all about the big shift. So I'm going to show you what it actually looks like to stop overfunctioning in practical, concrete, day-to-day terms. Not to stop caring. It's never about stopping to care, but to stop carrying what isn't yours to carry. And the distinction between those two things, that's what this episode is all about. So the first thing I want to do is reframe something, because I think there's a fear that runs underneath this conversation that we need to address before we go anywhere else. The fear is this: if I stop doing all of this, I will become someone who doesn't care. I will become cold, detached. I'll stop being good at what I do. My clients will feel supported. I'll lose what makes me exceptional. I hear this all the time. I want to say it clearly. That is not what happens. That's not going to happen. What actually happens when you stop overfunctioning is that your care becomes cleaner, more honest, and more effective. You go from being the person who's managing everyone's emotional experience, which is just kind of annoying, to being the person who can tell the truth without flinching, who can hold the line because you're not terrified of disappointing people, who can let a client struggle in the productive, growth-producing way because you trust both your container and their capacity. So it's not about less caring. It's just about better coaching. So let's talk about what the shift actually involves. The first shift is what I call moving from caretaker to container. Here's the distinction. A caretaker manages the experience. A container holds the space. So when you are in caretaking mode, you are inside of your client's process with them, monitoring, adjusting, softening, rescuing, smoothing. It kind of feels like intimacy, but what it actually does is blur the edges. Your nervous system and theirs are now entangled. Their struggle becomes your problem. Their emotional state becomes your responsibility. A container is different. A container is strong, clear, and stable, precisely because it does not collapse every time something hard happens inside of it. Think about it like a vessel. Like a good vessel doesn't fuse with what's being held. It holds it with integrity, with structure and presence. And because of that structure, what's inside of it can actually transform. Your clients do not need you inside of their process. They need you to hold the edges while they do the work. So practically, what does that look like? It looks like staying regulated when your client is activated, rather than co-regulating downwards with them. It looks like giving honest feedback, even when you know it's going to be uncomfortable to receive. It looks like trusting your program to do what it's designed to do, rather than constantly adding to it because you're anxious. It looks like saying with real warmth and steadiness, I can see that this is hard, and I believe that you can do it. And then waiting, not jumping, not rescuing, just waiting and trusting. The second shift is around responsibility. And this one is so important for high ticket especially. There's something called the coaching container model. And in its most useful form, it says you're responsible for the quality of your container, your knowledge, your structure, your presence, your delivery, and your client is responsible for their implementation, their willingness, their results. Those are two very different things. And when you conflate them, when you start taking responsibility for things that belong to your client, you rob them of something. You rob them ownership of their own journey. A client who gets results because her coach did everything for her doesn't actually have the results. She has the outcome of someone else's effort, basically. She doesn't know that she can do it at the end of the day because she didn't. And that lack of self-trust will follow her forever. She needs to build that herself. But a client who gets results because she did the hard work inside a container that held her firmly and challenged her honestly, that woman knows what she's made of. And that's the gift. So the question to ask is this: what am I doing for my clients that belongs to them? Not what should you stop doing because you're lazy. Not what should you cut out because you want to work less. But what are you carrying that's actually theirs to carry, that you are preventing them from lifting themselves? That's the inventory worth doing. Okay, the third shift is the deepest one, and it's an identity shift. So overfunctioning is not just a behavior, it's an identity. It's a sense of who you are, what you're worth, and what your place is in relation to the people around you. Think about that. So when you stop overfunctioning, you're not just changing what you do, you are changing who you believe yourself to be. This is a big thing. And that is the part that takes real work, real sustained conscious effort, because the old identity will start tugging and pulling at you. It will say, this is wrong, this feels cold, your clients need more from you, you should send more messages, you should add the bonus, you should fix this and that for them. And you have to be able to hear that voice in your head and choose a different way. Anyway, so what's the new identity? The new identity is the real leader, not the fixer, not the rescuer, not the person whose safety depends on everyone being okay. The leader cares deeply. The leader is extraordinarily present, super present. The leader tells the truth even when it's hard to hear. The leader trusts her people to rise up. The leader holds firm edges and boundaries, not to be mean, but because she knows that firmness creates safety. Boundaries create safety. That clarity also creates trust. That boundaries, real boundaries, is actually the most loving thing you can offer. And I want you to try something this week. When you're in a client interaction, on a call, or in a message, or reviewing someone's work, ask yourself, am I being a fixer right now, or am I being a leader? Fixers solve the immediate problem. Leaders develop the capacity in the person to solve their own problems. The first one feels faster, but the second one actually changes people's lives. Now, I want to talk with you about what it looks like and what this feels like in the body, because this is important. When you stop overfunctioning, which you will do, there will be a period, I don't want to be honest about this, where it kind of feels a little bit wrong. Like your nervous system will freak out a little bit. It will produce discomfort. It might show up as guilt. As the feeling, you might have thoughts that you're letting people down. And you might have urges to just send one more message or add one more thing or solve a problem for someone. But that discomfort is not evidence that you're doing something wrong. It's evidence that your nervous system is calibrating to a new way of being and getting rid of the old. The old program might want to still run a little bit, but it cannot micromanage. You can't rescue anymore. You can't soothe anymore. So your nervous system will want to create discomfort for you to get going and do the old pattern. Do your job, micromanage everything. So I know it's easier said than done to stay with the discomfort. So when you notice that discomfort in your nervous system, I want you to stop and breathe and tell yourself, this is my nervous system running on old programs. This is my nervous system asking me to do the old thing, and I'm choosing not to. Over time, and it does take a little bit of time, that discomfort will gradually go away. Your nervous system will start to learn, I don't actually have to micromanage everything. Wow, things can be okay without me controlling everything all the time. And when that learning lands in your body, you're going to experience a sense of freedom that you probably haven't felt in a really long time. So let me leave you with a few concrete practices to take into this week. The first is Before you send any check-in messages with a client, pause and ask yourself, is this coming from genuine connection or from anxiety? You don't have to stop sending messages, but know which one is driving you. The second is write down what you're responsible for in your work, in your business, in your client relationships, and write down what your clients are responsible for. Make it explicit. Put it on a piece of paper. Make it really clear for you what you're responsible for. And then notice where your behavior and your values are out of alignment. Where are you showing up in their column instead of your own? The third is when the urge to rescue or over-deliver comes from anxiety, and you will be able to feel the difference by now, just sit with it for 5 minutes before you take any action. Set a timer. Breathe. Let the urgency calm down. Then you can decide with a regulated nervous system and not a panicked one. And the fourth, and this is the one I want to leave you with today, is start practicing trust. Trust in your container. Trust in your client. Trust in the process that you've built. Trust that doing less, being the steady, clear, honest presence instead of the rescuer all the time, is not you abandoning your business or your work or your clients. It's you actually finally showing up in a proper leader way. This is the end of the 3-part series. I honestly hope that you found a lot of value in this. If there's something that you can relate with, share it with me. Come find me on Instagram, send me a message and say, oh my God, I do that with my clients and I'm going to stop doing that, because we're all here together and we're on this journey together. And I honestly love hearing from you guys. So take care for now. Enjoy implementing and go make those columns of responsibility. And I will see you in the next episode.